All right, hey music producers and sound designers, welcome back to the stream. Today, we're going to be sound designing in Reaktor. As usual, we're going to do it live, and we're going to be designing a building, a cinematic Pluck, inside Reaktor. No samples, no presets, just blocks, patch cables, and vibes. So, if you'd like modular synthesis or sound design inside Ableton, you're going to want to stick around for this one. So, alright, we're going to start with our chorus tone. I'm going to be dropping a simple oscillator into our session. I'm going to drop in an oscillator. Block will go with a sine wave, maybe a triangle for now. Just something super clean that we can use to build out our pluck. So this time I think we'll do a triangle, because we've covered this in the last session where we created a pluck, but this will be a cinematic pluck. And I'm going to patch this to our node in, and that's going to be our first connection from our oscillator. So we're going to get a raw tone. If I send this out, I'm going to turn down the volume. And if I send it out to our speakers, you can hear we're getting a raw tone. Bring it down. You want to protect your ears, make sure that your volumes are not too loud. Hopefully that's not too loud. But I'm going to mute the output for now so that we don't hear it. And then we're going to keep building. Just a quick tip, if you want a more harmonically rich sound or pluck, you're going to want to use a saw or a pulse to keep it. And we're going to keep it minimal today. We're going to keep it minimal with this one pitch, with this one oscillator. So we're going to shape this. We're going to shape it with an envelope. I'm going to bring in an envelope, and we're going to shape our sound. So we're going to want to connect an envelope to some kind of amplitude control. And that amplitude control is going to be our VCA, which is voltage controlled amplifier. So that's going to connect to our envelope, and our VCA is going to connect from our oscillators. So we have one oscillator in this case, and that's going to be the one we're going to be using. So now I'm going to unmute that. I'm going to turn up the volume. We're going to keep building in our modular environment. Turn the volume up. And we do have a left and right output, so there we go. And now you can hear the left and right outputting signal. And as I press a key on my keyboard below me, you can hear that it's working. So we're going to use our ADSR block to our VCA to control our amplitude. And I'm going to patch to our audio out. So now we got a quick sound going. I'm going to quickly dial in some attack, some low attack. Decay will do around 250 milliseconds. And then we'll dial in some sustain. We'll make it 0. And we'll make the release short and sweet, so something around there. We're getting something that sounds similar to a pluck. I'm going to add in one more key component. That's going to be a filter. That's going to help us filter our tone. It's going to be next in our chain, connecting out to our VCA. And I'm going to turn down the filter. With that filter, we can filter out some highs and give us some tone control over our sound. And we're going to use the band pass if we can, depending on how moody we want our sound to be. I like it somewhere around here. So we're also going to use the envelope to cut off the modulation. So I'm going to let's patch that to that same envelope to filter modulation. And there we go, a nice little pluck sound. So we're using that envelope to patch to our modulation of our filter to create that little input cutoff signal to make it our sound nice and dynamic and add some movement and some presence. So you can hear that sound. There's some movement with that pluck. It's not just a static pluck. And that's how we make those cinematic textures really breathe. So we're doing that. It gives us some atmosphere. So now I'm going to add some actual reverb to give us like the complete picture. So we're going to bring on some reverb. Going to grab some reverb. Right here. Grab some reverb. I'm going to look at my blocks. And I'm going to choose some reverb. I'm going to bring that in as our next module. And it's going to look something like this. I'm going to patch it in so that our sound now has some reverb and some presence to it. I'm really liking that. Let's see if we can add some size. Okay, so I'm liking that little snippet that I got there. I'm going to take that as my melodic. Okay, well, let's clean up our notes a little bit. So there we go. We've gotten our Pluck sound as clicky as that. I'm thinking that's sounding really nice, so I'm going to go ahead and save my patch as a preset. So we're going to save it as a preset here. This is going to be our Pluck. You can name it whatever you'd like, but we're going to name it this. And I'm going to save it as a preset. So there we go. We got our Pluck sound in just under a few minutes using Ableton and using Reaktor sound design. So hopefully you learned something from the session. And you could take it a step further. You could even put this down in an 8-step sequencer. I'll save that for another session. But actually, we can continue with this. I think I'm gonna actually do that because it'll give you a picture of how to do that. So I'm gonna bring it in. I'm gonna bring it into an 8-step sequencer. Actually, I kind of already got an idea that I want to use, so I could use a sequencer to bring it to life, but I'm liking this sound. So I'm going to keep it as is right now. Just a little bit of editing will do it. So we're going to take our patch, our sound, we're going to duplicate it just so we have a copy. I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit the notes that we do have. So we're going to turn our metronome on, just showing you a little bit of how to do that. Feel free to watch along as I build this out. But if you can't stick around, just be sure that you show up for future episodes as I do these streams nightly. And I do have a full deep dive modular sound design course, link available in the description. And yeah, we'll continue building this out into a full little loop that we can use. So let's continue. We're going to do a quick edit of these notes. Okay. And going to clip this little section here. And we're going to keep this. So let's just see if we can make this loop. Okay, we got a little clip of a sound that we want to use in our production. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select all the notes, Command U. And quantize. And there's our sound. So we got a sound, we got a little loop that we can use as the basis of our production. I'm just going to go ahead and delete the rest of this, keep that little snippet. And this is our loop. So as quick as that, we got a little loop that we can use as a pluck. So that's our pluck. Our pluck right there. Okay, let's add in one more interesting sound. I want to add a little bit of delay on this. Maybe some house drums. I can hear that. So. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, carve out a little clip, turn down our volume. We're going to go ahead and add some MIDI notes. Let's extend this loop a little bit longer. And duplicate. We can take that, we can consolidate our clip, Command J. let's get this in. I'm gonna get the metronome on. Okay, so let's keep going with this patch, with this with this patch. So utility, grab some utility, and use that for our volume. It's an audio effect rack effect. Just to bring up our volumes. So I want to bring up the volume of this. Okay, now we're going to bring in some bass. So we're going to look in a pack for some drums, just to get our loop going. Okay, I want it a little bit faster here. Try that again. Sounding a little bit off there. Shift it up 1. No, it's too fast. No, that's not working. I just want some shakers, some regular percussion that I can use. So let's see what we got. Bring in some perks. That sounds interesting. Sometimes you gotta fill in some ideas with some loops just to get you started. So let's see what that sounds like. That's way too fast. Carving this up. Not liking that. want to line it up. Just going to move it on the grid. That's our finished loop. Of course, we're going to clean this up at some point, but I wanted you to get an idea of how to incorporate sound design into your music. Of course, we got to clean up the timing and make this perfect, but I hopefully you learned something from the session, and I'll see you in the next sound design session. Peace out.